All right, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Thank you for being here today. We're going to start things off with a couple quick chants. When I say big oil, you say make them pay. Big oil. Make them pay. Big oil. Make them pay. Big oil. Make them pay. When I say corporate polluters, you say pay up. Corporate polluters. Pay up. Corporate polluters. Pay up. Corporate polluters. Pay up. Thank you all. Thank you for being here on this wonderful, beautiful, sunny day. My name is Matt Smith. I'm with Food and Water Watch and the Empower New Jersey Coordinating Committee, and we are here with Empower New Jersey, with our elected official champions, with all of you to give a clear message to our elected officials that we are here to make New Jersey more affordable, more resilient, to create thousands of new dignified living wage jobs, to protect public health and safety, particularly for overburdened communities, and to amplify and continue the broader fight to stop the fossil fuel industry's plans to continue drilling and fracking and burning our planet to oblivion. This is about taking on the billionaire class, challenging corporate power, and the fossil-fueled fascism that threatens our very survival on this big, beautiful blue planet that we call home. And make no mistake, this is about challenging the greedy billionaires who are undermining our very democratic foundations right now and threatening a constitutional crisis. And really, it's fossil fuel interests that are in the White House that we need to stand up to, and that's why the Climate Superfund Act is so important. We need our representatives to reject polluter schemes like the low carbon fuel standard, which would further entrench fossil fuels, raise prices at the pump, and compound environmental injustice. We need our elected officials to pass the Warehouse Pollution Act to tackle the worst air and climate polluters on wheels in the state of New Jersey. And we need the legislator and Governor Murphy to quickly and decisively pass the Climate Superfund Act. So thank you all for being here today, for all of the advocacy you do in between these rallies and lobby days, passing municipal resolutions, meeting with your local elected officials, petitioning, talking to your communities, your neighbors, organizing at the local level. There's so much good movement happening in this moment, not just on the Climate Superfund Act, but against all of the threats to our democracy and our planet that we're facing right now. So thank you. You are the front lines for our planet and for our future. So without any further ado, we have a great lineup of speakers today, and our first is the prime sponsor of the Climate Superfund Act, Assemblyman John Allen. Let's give Assemblyman Allen a big hand.
Good morning. Good morning. Now this is a beautiful day to fight for climate justice. Listen, this is a pretty straightforward idea. You've seen the sign when you've walked around stores. It's a simple concept. You break it, you buy it. People talk about personal responsibility. Well, this is about exactly that. Holding those responsible accountable, right? So what we need to do is mobilize. What you're doing today is exactly what we need to see spread across the state and the country. We're going to have our voices heard today in committee testimony, but I want to see your voices throughout our society, your social media, your networks of friends. Spread the word. This is a fight, and it's going to take fighters for us to win.
That's right.
So I'm incredibly grateful to you, to the advocates, to the members of the legislature who have signed on to be co-sponsors. This is a really important act that we need to see happen, and it needs to happen fast. Time is not on our side. So with that said, I want a little bit of that excitement that we started with. Big oil!
Make them pay!
Big oil!
Make them pay!
Big oil!
Make them pay!
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Our next speaker needs no introduction, long champion for our climate and our environment and public health. Let's give it up for Senator Andrew Zwicker.
$7 billion a month Any idea what that number represents? That is Exxon's monthly profit. Anybody here making $7 billion a month?
Not a chance!
$6 billion a month. That is Shell's monthly profit.
Whoa!
Where's that money coming from? That's right, the money comes from us. Meanwhile, in Newark, New Jersey, asthma rates are 3 to 4 times the rate they are in other parts of the country, 10 times higher for black and brown communities because of pollution and because of climate change. This is a travesty. The time for action is now. This bill was the right thing to do for years, for decades, as we've been lied to by the fossil fuel companies. But today in 2025, it's a moral imperative. The time, as Assemblyman Allen mentioned, to act is now. And the voices of the people must be heard. As he said, they broke it. It's time to pay for it. It's time to ensure that we do what's right for the people of New Jersey, the people of the United States, and for this entire planet. It's going to take all of us to pass the Climate Superfund Act. It's going to take all of us to make polluters pay. But as Hurricane Ida, we saw it's $9 billion after the fact. If we don't act, when will the next superstorm happen? We don't know. But it's no longer an if, it is simply a when. I am grateful to see each and every one of you here today. Please work with your networks of people, because the moral imperative is in front of us. Corporations that have polluted, that for so many years have raised profits on the backs of working men and women, that time must end, and it must end now. We can do that together because there is no planet B. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is also a sponsor, a prime sponsor of the Assembly version of the Climate Superfund Act. Let's give it up for Assemblywoman Cavazos-Gill.
So good morning.
Good morning!
So first of all, thank you so much for all of your presence. These kinds of bills, especially the one that we're discussing today and we're going to get out of committee, happens because of your support, happens because you call our office, happens because you bring attention to an issue that is extremely important. We know that climate change is here. We know that it costs us a lot of money. We know who also is paying for this, and we have said this before. We are all paying for this, for the changes, for the damages that is taking place. We also know that this is not going to go away. Climate change is here. The damages are happening today, every single day. And we need to, very simply, making sure that those who are causing those damages pay for it. So for that, thank you. And I am just going to echo what the Senator and the Assemblyman said. We need your support. We need you to continue to make calls, be present, and make us do our job in making sure that we protect our environment the best way we should be doing. So for that, thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. And these are just 3 of the 26 legislators who are now co-sponsoring this critical legislation. Do you think that we can double that number by April 1st? Are you ready to call and write your legislators and meet with them to get them on this bill? Amazing. Our next speaker is leading the youth movement for climate action in New Jersey. Let's give it up for Ben Joback and the Climate Revolution Action Network.
Are you guys fired up? Yeah! Solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. It is time to pass the Climate Superfund Act. Together we built a powerful, broad-based coalitions like organizations like Food and Water Watch, Clean Water Action, Empower New Jersey, Sierra Club, the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, CWA Local 1037, the Working Families Party, the Alliance for Immigrant Justice, Senator Zwicker, Assemblywoman Gill, Assemblywoman Allen. We are doing this. We know this because enough is enough. Let me be clear. This is not just about climate change. This is about power. This is about a rigged system where billionaires and fossil fuel executives make record profits while working people struggle to breathe, to pay their bills, to survive. This is about corporate greed running unchecked, poisoning our air, our water, our communities, while they get away with it. And let's be honest, they've gotten away with it for far too long. Another climate disaster is coming. We know it. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And when that disaster hits, who pays?
We do.
Not the oil companies, not the billionaires, it's us. It's the working class people, it's black and brown communities, it's frontline communities, and it's the people who did nothing to cause the crisis who are forced to bear the brunt of it. For decades, the fossil fuel industry and corporate polluters have poisoned our water, our air, and our future. They raked in record profits while working families are left with sky-high medical bills, flooded homes, and toxic drinking water. They can afford private jets, but they can't seem to clean up their mess? Give me a break. What do you want? My arm, my leg, my retirement benefits, my health care? How about clean air too? They want everything from us, but while giving nothing back. These companies have no problem taking billions in government handouts, but when it comes time to pay for the destruction they cause, they're not around. There's no money left. That's outrageous. It is unacceptable, and we are here to say, no more! Climate change isn't slowing down, and neither are we. They think they can buy off politicians. They can't. They think they can distract us. They can't. They think they can bury us in lies and misinformation. They can't. Let me tell you something. They're going to spend all the money they want against this, but they cannot buy our movement. Because we are here, we are organized, and we are fighting back. We're the working class. We're the people who built this country and keep it running. We deserve clean air. We deserve clean water. We deserve a livable future. And we will not stop until the companies pay the price. And we will not back down. If they make the mess, they clean it up. If they poison communities, they pay to fix them. We need to pass the Climate Superfund Act, a bill that would finally make the worst polluters pay for the damage they cause. They would make sure to force the biggest fossil fuel companies to foot the bill for recovery, for justice, not just for the taxpayers, not just the taxpayers, not just working people, them. So I'm here asking you, just like everyone else, to call your legislators, sign petitions, spread the word. I know a lot of you are here from TikTok. Hold corporations accountable, knock on doors, tell them we will not accept another dime of public money going to clean up after corporate greed. Tell them to pass the Climate Superfund Act, because it's time to place the burden where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Our next speaker is with Clean Water Action. He's also on town council with the municipality of Red Bank, New Jersey. Let's give it up for Ben Forrest.
Hey, thank you. It's always great to go after another Ben. So our town passed the Climate Superfund Act. Very proud of that. As I mentioned, I'm also on the board of Clean Water Action in New Jersey. As a municipal official, I'm here today to show support for the Climate Superfund Act and urge other municipalities throughout the state to pass similar resolutions. In support of the Climate Superfund Act, as we did in Red Bank and nearly a dozen other large and small communities here in New Jersey, including Jersey City, regardless of whether or not you live in the Jersey Shore or inland communities, you've already been hit hard by climate change. People have lost their lives, homes, schools, businesses, duh. We know that more is coming. New Jersey joins Louisiana and Florida as the top 3 states in the nation that will experience the worst impacts of climate change. Jersey Shore towns are ground zero for being underwater, whether it's due to sea level rise, daily rising tide, storm surge, wind, dry, extreme weather conditions. Inland communities are not safe. Remember Hurricane Ida. We are going to be ready to make our towns more resilient, not just for the next storm, but for everyday impacts of climate change. Money alone will not solve the problems of our future, but it will help. And the uncertainties of future federal and state budgets are unknown. Unlike tight budgets of municipalities like mine, and even with the limits of our utilities and insurance companies to foot the bill, we need to turn to those most responsible for the damage that has been caused. Climate Superfund Act is part of the solution. Municipalities like mine are calling for corporations that knowingly have caused the problem to be responsible for paying New Jersey's future climate impacts. Remember, there is precedent. Big Pharma and tobacco industry are made to pay for states for their wrongdoings, misleading claims. So should two big oil and gas corporations. In doing so, we can provide responsible fiscal relief for towns, residents, businesses, our state taxpayers, without footing all the bill on ourselves. In passing a local resolution like we did in Red Bank, we are sending a strong and clear message to our state legislatures and the governor that they must act decisively and swiftly by passing the Climate Superfund Act and make it a law like New York did in December of last year. As a municipal official, I'm responsible for keeping residents safe from harm, and my own house, by the way, making small fiscal decisions, keeping our communities affordable, as well as adopting policies to improve our quality of life and make our town more resilient for what's ahead. We cannot do that without the Climate Superfund Act. We're 12,000 people. We're a small town, and we have the full impact like everybody else. Given a chance, I will be testifying today on the effect in front of the Assembly Environmental Committee meeting, which I think is upstairs on the 3rd floor, urging the committee legislative leadership to move on Climate Superfund in the Assembly and the Senate floor for a full vote as soon as possible. And thank you guys so much for being here, by the way. It's a pleasure and honor to speak in front of you today.
Thank you, Councilman. Really quick before I introduce our next speaker, I want to shout out the 135 member groups of Empower New Jersey who make this work possible, who are supporting this campaign, including UU Faith Action New Jersey, who's leading the interfaith movement for bold climate action in the state. And our next speaker, Antoinette Miles from the New Jersey Working Families Party.
I'm sad to report that I am not Ben. But that's all right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm here today on behalf of New Jersey Working Families. We are a coalition of labor unions, community organizations, advocacy groups, and individuals who fight day in and day out to make New Jersey more livable and more affordable for our working families in this state. Our organization was founded so that we can support policies like the Climate Superfund Act to make sure that polluters pay. The Climate Superfund Act is not just about fairness. It is about repairing the harms, the injustices that have been leveraged over our communities by the Superfund sites and the polluters inside of our communities. The mega corporations who have polluted our communities and are driving climate change, they should be forced to pay for the damage that they are causing. It is that simple. We know that low-income families and communities of color are bearing a disproportionate harm of the long legacy of pollution in their communities. Residents in Newark's Ironbound district are forced to live near factories, dirty oil, and gas plants that would never be tolerated in wealthier, more affluent communities just 30 minutes away. But we know that pollution knows no boundaries. And New Jersey as a whole has some of the worst air quality in the nation. And fossil fuel companies, they're not just driving climate change, they're driving a health crisis. They're causing cancer, triggering asthma attacks, inflaming heart disease, particularly among Black and brown residents, seniors, and children. And it is shameful that these instances continue to go on while these polluters continue to take our taxpayer dollars while they profit on the backs of working people.
Shame!
Shame! The Climate Superfund legislation is designed to provide the critical resources that these communities need. And it will remove the scourge, start to remove the scourge of the environmental harms in these communities. The bill would ensure that billions of dollars can be invested in projects that promote clean energy, improve public health, prepare our cities to be more resilient, and more, especially against the more severe weather that is continuing to happen in our communities and the sea level rise that is already baked in by the climate pollution. And let's be honest, we know this is even more important now with a reckless and dangerous federal administration that seeks to pollute and fund these companies and give tax breaks to these companies and give tax breaks to billionaires while all of us suffer. It is unfair, it is disgusting, and it is shameful. And we're not gonna stand for it here in New Jersey, and we're not gonna stand for it here in Trenton, we're not gonna stand for it here in Newark, not in Camden, and not anywhere across this state. We don't know how successful the Trump agenda will be, but we know that we need to act now. And that is fundamentally why we are here today. We are saying that the time to act is now. We must move forward in making sure that we hold polluters accountable, that we make sure that we have the investments that we need as the Trump administration especially tries to claw back a lot of the money that was put forward in the infrastructure bill and a lot of the investments that were going to making sure that we don't have chemicals in our water and polluted air. The revenue raised by this legislation is important for New Jersey. And it is going to be a powerful tool for the state of New Jersey and whoever the next governor is to make sure that we Trump-proof our state. The time for action is now. Thank you for your time and your attention. Make polluters pay! Make polluters pay! Make polluters pay!
Thank you so much, Antoinette. Thank you everyone again for being here. Our last and final speaker is going to give us our marching orders for the rest of today. Let's give it up for Doug O'Malley with Environment New Jersey.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to our legislative champions. We are here for a very simple reason. More than 40 years ago, the Superfund Act was passed to make polluters pay up. It's time for our climate polluters to pay up. And I have three kind of pop quiz questions for all of you at this moment. January, it's been a cold winter, but was January the coldest or warmest month on record? Warmest! And then when New Jersey passed its own version of the Superfund Act, the Spill Act, in 1976, do polluters support or oppose that? Oppose! And then when the Superfund Act was passed in 1980, do polluters support or oppose? Oppose! What are polluters doing right now on the Climate Superfund Act? Opposing! And all of us are supporting it. And this is why you are so important, because people power is what's going to help us to win. We're gonna wrap up by doing a quick picture right up here, and then in your packets you have instructions on filling out slips. We're gonna take the elevator up to committee room 9 on the 3rd floor, and we're gonna fill out slips and saying we support Climate Superfund because it's time for climate polluters to pay. All right, thank you. Come on up.
Let's get a big group photo. Come on up on the stairs. Bring your signs.